One Piece chapter 999 is out and the wait was long, so let's not wait anymore. Now, the color spread we get for this chapter is actually part of a two-piece color spread. The other piece is going to be for chapter 1000, but what I'm seeing here is that each different artist in Shonen Jump kind of drew what I think might be their favorite character or just a character they like in their own design. And so if you look around there, you can see a bunch of different One Piece characters just in different designs. It's definitely a really cool color spread. I do want to see the second half just to see what else everyone drew. We do go into the flashback about Ace and Yamato, and kind of just Ace in general. There's a lot of Ace featured in this chapter, and so to kind of make it simple, I want to go through the timeline of what happened according to this chapter and pretty much everything else we know so far. And that's that Ace arrives at Wano with the Spade Pirates, and at that point Ace meets Tama. When Ace meets Tama and befriends Tama, he learns about what's going on in Wano, and that encourages him to go and fight Kaido. When he goes to fight Kaido, he clashes with Yamato instead, and Yamato lets him know that Kaido and all the higher-ups are no longer there. You know, they've all left on some kind of excursion, which is interesting, but we don't really get any details on that. As they clash, Ace makes a lot of comments about how strong Yamato is, and how he believes that she has to at least be a captain if she's this strong. And through fighting, they end up becoming friends because they both share that hatred of their own father. And Ace kind of pulls that out of Yamato by telling her her heart is still bound to her father even though she hates him. Once they become friends, Yamato shares everything she knows with Ace. Once Ace joins the Whitebeard Pirates, he lets them know what information he has, but they refuse to let him go back because they know he can't do anything to Kaido. They know that Ace is not going to stand a chance, and the amount of casualties that would take place if they did go and fight at Wano would be catastrophic, so they're not going back. And ultimately Ace dies before he can fulfill his promise to go back to Wano, so that's kind of where we're at now. And there are a lot of nice moments in between, like the flashback stuff, that kind of just highlight again who Ace is as a character, and they kind of shine some light on Yamato as well. For example, we see that Yamato actually destroyed the statue before Ace did. You know, Yamato looks like she breaks the head off the dragon statue in a sign of defiance of Kaido. Ace takes that as a declaration and they end up becoming good friends. At which point Ace continuously tells Yamato about Luffy, and he also mentions the other, because he mentions Law, he mentions Kid, he mentions Bage, he even mentions Cavendish. He goes through all of them, but he says that Luffy will be the top dog when he gets to the sea. And what this all does is it brings things into perspective, because we had questions about why the Whitebeard Pirates never showed up to Wano, and we had questions about how the fight between Ace and Kaido would go. And I mean, obviously Ace was going to get decimated by Kaido if he actually fought him, so it makes sense that Kaido's not there. Now, Ace continually mentioning that Yamato is strong reminds me of what Luffy does sometimes. You know, when Luffy meets a really strong character, he'll say, "Hey, you're really strong, aren't you?" And the fact that she can clash with Ace in seemingly equal footing, like there may be some discrepancy, but not any that were shown, that really amps up my perception of Yamato's strength. I also want to note that Yamato said Kaido was mad about Ace destroying the statue. And I wonder if this means when he was heading to Marineford, he had different plans in mind for how he wanted to handle Ace. Maybe he was upset with Ace for interfering with his territory and he was going to go fight Whitebeard and Ace for it. Yet another theory to add to why Kaido was heading to Marineford. Now, moving back to the Dome live floor, we have Marco pretty much taking care of business. First off, he draws everyone's attention so that Robin and Brook can start running up the castle. And this, I think, definitely implies that they're heading for Sanji, because they're not getting a ride up to the top, they have to take the stairs, which means at some point they will run into the third floor and they will see Black Maria. And it's funny that how everyone's attacking him, because in one of the panels you can see that something's like stabbed through Marco's head, and he's not even fazed by it. He's just asking Zoro, like, "Are you ready to go?" And Zoro's like, "Yep, let's fly." Marco just being completely unfazed by whatever the fodder has to do. And now, as Zoro mentioned earlier, King and Queen are blocking the way up. Now, Queen tries to shoot Marco with his tongue gun, which I was not aware that he had up until now. And that's of course ineffective, so I'm guessing King's going to have to be the one to stop Marco. What I'm assuming this means is that Marco is going to throw or launch Zoro up through the hole while he takes care of King. In the background of all the action, we have Yamato and Nami telling Momo and Tama about the connection between Ace and Luffy. I had been waiting to see how Tama was going to figure out how Luffy was related to Ace. Honestly, I didn't really expect Nami to be the one to tell it, but I like the fact that it's Nami because I do think to some aspect that Nami is one of the closest to Luffy as far as it comes to like emotion sense and kind of just knowing where he's at. Like when the news first breaks about Ace's death, I felt that Nami and Usopp felt it the hardest. So it makes sense here that Nami is the one telling Tama that Ace is Luffy's brother and that it was a really painful time for Luffy as well. So if he seems insensitive about it, you know, that's just Luffy being Luffy. Yamato even takes it a step further and tells Momo about the connection between Roger, Ace, and Luffy, because Momo met Roger a long time ago, and so pretty much she's telling him about Roger's son. Both of them have very shocked expressions, which makes sense. I mean, all of this stuff is new information and it's pretty shocking information. And of all times to learn it, right now is a pretty shocking time. So I think it all makes sense there. We also get a hint that there might be some Will of D lore because Yamato pulls out Oden's journal and she mentions that even his name carries the Will of D. So it looks like she's going to either tell Momo about it or she might mention it at some point in the near future. Now to the point of the chapter I really want to talk about, Big Mom and Kaido. This is the moment that I'm saying that I called. If you go back and look in some of my earlier reviews, I was talking about how Big Mom heading up to Kaido means we're going to get some background on what Kaido is. Not only that, I said that Big Mom is the one who gave Kaido his fruit. I also said it was too early for Big Mom to backstab Kaido. She wouldn't gain anything out of this from attacking him while he's still in Onigashima. And the thing she was gunning for is Nico Robin and the Road Poneglyph. So that's her plan. That's her big idea, is to get those and probably dip before things get really bad. And I'm very happy to see how aware Kaido is of Big Mom's intentions. He immediately says, you know, you're showing your true colors too early. And Big Mom gets a little offended by that. But we've all been saying that Big Mom is clearly going to betray him at some point. That Big Mom is lying, that she has an ulterior motive, she has her own plan. And not only do we know her plan, but we know that Kaido doesn't really care about her plan. Kaido doesn't seem interested in deciphering the poneglyphs, or at least he doesn't seem like he wants to take on that task. After reading this chapter, I kind of get a feel that this alliance makes more sense than it did initially, because what happens here is that they both find the One Piece, but Big Mom gets the treasure and Kaido gets the giant war he wants. In an odd way, their interests align because from what we see, Kaido doesn't really have an interest in going for the treasure. You know, he's not worried about Robin, he's not worried about the Road Poneglyph, he's not worried about, you know, what's happening with Pudding. He's more along the lines of, whatever, once we start the war, I'll be happy with that. Now, something I did get wrong is that Kaido does want to drop Onigashima just smack on Wano. And now I said he wasn't going to do that because he wanted to use the people of Wano as a slave force, but he has plans outside of Wano to get more slaves, so he doesn't care what happens to the citizens. And the place he wants to put it is the flower capital, so he wants to pretty much smack it down right on top of where the mountain and Oden Castle was, and just have like a reigning domain there. As cool little background events, we have Zeus and Prometheus pretty much charging back up. You have Zeus up in the sky kind of just eating the thunder and kind of just being a part of the clouds. And then you have Prometheus eating the fire that I'm assuming Kaido was blowing around earlier in the fight. Basically, this is showing us that Big Mom is going to be ready for a fight should it come because her homies are now charged up. And to talk about Kaido's fruit. So we have the confirmation that he has a fruit. I mean, that was kind of expected, but I won't say there wasn't credence towards other theories. Now, with this being a fish-based fruit, we have a lot of speculations to make. Does this fruit allow Kaido to swim in the ocean? Is he unaffected by the seawater effect? Is this why he holds the title of strongest creature land, sea, and air? Because in any form of combat and in any form of terrain, he fights the strongest. The end of the chapter gives us some notes on what the fruit could possibly be, and that's of a koi fish. Basically, a group of koi fish are swimming up a waterfall over years and years of time, and the only one to make it to the very top is bestowed godly powers of a dragon. While this sounds very promising as a theory, there are still some answers we need onto how that works. For example, what caused the transition from Kaido becoming a fish to a dragon? Was it the same aspect of him swimming up a waterfall? Like, was it him going to Wano that let him become a dragon? Or, was there some kind of other trial that he had to go through to get that kind of power? Or maybe this is some kind of sea dragon, or maybe it's something that is based in the sea but can also fly through the skies as well. I definitely like the koi fish theory. I think that has a lot of promise to it, and I think we're going to learn more about that in upcoming chapters. However, I still think there's more to Kaido than just his fruit, because his design in general is something strange, and I don't think Big Mom would call him a thing if the only thing that was, beastly or creaturesque about him was his devil fruit. All in all, a fantastic chapter. We got so much information here. We got, flashback information. We have the current timeline information. A lot of things that we can put together and a lot of loose ends all tied up. Chapter 1000 is going to be amazing, and I will see you all there for it. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.